Come here, pony. Come here, pony. Come here. I have a question for you, sir. Hi, guys. So I got a funny comment a couple videos ago when I took Pony out of his sister's pen and put him in with the big boys. They said, I feel so bad for that buckling. He's lonely. He misses his girls. You should weather him. So I should band him and make him infertile so he can stay with his sisters, because wethers live a little longer. Well, let me tell you this. Ladies, ask your significant other, ask your husbands, would they rather live a couple years longer but never have sex again in their life? Or would they rather, well, be with their lady and maybe not live quite as long? I guarantee no man's going to answer in the affirmative for never having sex in their life. So I guarantee Pony here is a lot happier having his harem of girls that he's gonna be able to love every year than just to be able to have some friends that never let him do his thing. So he's a perfectly happy boy, and he has Rubble as a companion. He's not crying, he's happy. He has a friend, and he'll also have girlfriends. So he's a good boy. He's a very happy goat. I'm not concerned. Good morning, guys. So I have this very large jar of sourdough discard. Today I'm going to try to make my first attempt at sourdough pancakes. I'm not sure if my kids are gonna like it because of the tart flavor, so I'm adding some vanilla, a little bit of sugar, and an egg to this. I did like 3 tablespoons of flour to make it a little thicker, and we'll see how they come out. I'm going to be cooking them in a goat's butter. A little lumpy, makes it better. All right, I stick blended out all the clumps, and I added a little more sugar and a little more flour to thicken it, and also that is very tart, so hopefully the sugar will cut that a bit. First batch definitely didn't come out looking like pancakes, so we'll see with the changes I did if they're any better. While I'm at breakfast, I'm also making a giant pot of mozzarella. Take number 3, I added some baking soda and it worked a little better. So my family likes the kombucha enough that I bought 2 more fermentation jars. So I'll have 3 going at once. So here they are. I've been keeping a fruit fly trap next to it because the fermentation really attracts the fruit flies. What I've been doing is just putting a little bit of Dawn with some kombucha. I've just been catching most of the fruit flies that are hanging around the counter. So I butchered 28 rabbits the other day. I cooked 6 fresh, and then I packaged the rest today. I also decided to cook a second set of 6, so 12 of them are going to be eaten relatively quickly. So I have 16 going in the freezer. Normally I part them out, but this time I decided to do them as whole rabbit. So after some trial and error, I figured out how to package them whole. I took the back legs and I tucked them under the rib, so they're nice and round and there are no pointy parts to poke the bags in the freezer. So I figured out I can fit 6 whole rabbits flattened out on my grill. I'm doing the same seasoning I did last time because I really liked it, which is just granulated garlic, black pepper, and ground sage. Those are just going to go on for 10 minutes aside. So it's been working really well where I just cook 6 rabbits and then I use them for the next few meals worth of meat. With the last 6 I made just grilled the first night, and then my husband had a bunch in his work sandwiches, and then I made some taco meat last night. So I learned the hard way a couple times ago when I added a bunch of ranch powder to them that I really shouldn't add salt if I don't have a plan ahead of time of what I'm using them in. So It was well over salted when I then added them to sauces and other stuff that already had salt in it. So I've decided this batch I'm not going to salt. Also, they've been brining in the salt water, so they already have some salt on them. Morning, guys. So it's the day of my yearly vet checkup for the goats. I just milked. Now I have everyone lined up for him. So when he comes, he can just check out each goat without it being a rodeo. And he can go along and give every single one their rabies shot. And the babies I left in this stall until he gets here. When they're done with their breakfast and he's done with them, I'll let them out to pasture. They finally figured out how to get out there with the big girls. So the vet came by and did his thing. He wasn't interested in having me film him, so I couldn't show any of that. But they all have their rabies vaccine now. And I also sent a fecal out for one of the baby goats. And she did come back positive for some coccidia in her poop. So I have the medicine for them. I'm going to give all the kids some coccidia medicine. Hello. So what I'm making for dinner tonight is a keto version of a stroganoff using the rabbit meat I grilled up last night. I have some gifts from my friend. He gave me a squash and a zucchini, both on the larger side. So I skinned them and also took out all the big seeds, sliced them up and have them sauteing with some onion. I'm going to add the rabbit meat, mushrooms. I'm going to add butter, some of the heavy goat cream, and some red wine, pepper, and garlic probably. I added some parsley and thyme. There's the goat's butter going in now. I used quite a bit of red wine. I got lazy at the end here and ended up using granulated garlic instead of fresh. Okay, in go the mushrooms, and I found a half can of chickpeas in my fridge that needed to go away, so they're in there randomly. I'm going to let this cook, and then I'm going to add some of the heavy cream and the rabbit. I'm going to add some lemon juice. I think that'll taste good in there. It's really nice having your meats pre-cooked when you are making meals. You don't have to worry about cooking meat. So I'm just going to chop some of this up into bite-sized pieces, get a bigger pan, mix it in there with some heavy cream. It should taste really good. Without the pasta to soak up the sauce, it's kind of stew-like, but it tastes really good. All right, here's round 2 of experimenting with sourdough discard pancakes. I'm going to use about 4 cups of sourdough starter. I'm going to use some buttermilk that I just made. I'm going to try 2 eggs this time. I did 1 last time. I'm going to add a little flour and, I don't know, probably a teaspoon of baking soda I'll start with, some vanilla, a sprinkle of salt, and this time I'm going to try adding some baking powder to see if I can get them a little fluffier. So I added a cup of the buttermilk, 2 cups of flour, and half a cup of sugar. It looks like a thicker mix now. So I'll have to see if I have to thicken it a bit more, but I'm going to try cooking a couple. The first test one came out okay. It's reasonably fluffy. I'd call these decent for a homemade batch with no recipe. Good morning. My tiny garden is doing really great. I have tomatoes and zucchinis growing. Tiny butternut squash are growing. The first one got some blossom end rot, as well as most of the first tomatoes. Maybe that was from the transport of the plants over here. I kind of bare rooted them, so they weren't too happy. All these squash plants are doing great, and I have my first zucchini to pick. Look how cute.